Hello, I want to welcome everybody to my channel, Jim Reads Too Slow. I'm Jim, and we got some rain today here in the heartland. It's a cool evening. I think maybe fall is actually trying to break through, so I'm feeling pretty good. And on top of that, I've had what is for me a pretty good reading week. I finished 3 books this past week and have started one new one. So as we speak, I'm currently reading 2 books. The book I finished is this one, The Tartar Steppe by Dino Buzzati. As I've said before, I read this as part of my family's reading group. It's a relatively short book, 265 pages in this edition. It was published in 1940 in Italian. The English translation was copyrighted in 1953. And this edition that I have here was translated by Stuart C. Hood. So the story, this is the story of a young army officer named Giovanni Drogo. He's fresh out of the military academy. He's assigned to this fort on the frontier, Fort Bastiani. Now, we're never told where exactly it's located, what country, what frontier. We just know that it's fairly remote, and it looks out on this desert plain, the Tartar Steppe. The soldiers and officers who are stationed there, they expect that at any moment the Tartars will come riding through the desert and attack them. They're hoping for this because this would make their dreams of military glory come true. That's what they live for. Drogo arrives at the fort, takes one look at it, and he's ready to go. There must be some mistake. I can't stay here, he says. But he is talked into sticking around for 4 months, and then they'll send him on his way. Well, at the end of that 4 months, he has decided he wants to stay. And stay he does. He's there for decades, waiting, expecting, dreaming, hoping for this attack by the Tartars. And it never comes. This is a book about how we start out with nothing but hope and promise. Our whole lives are in front of us, and everyone is cheering us on as we get our start. But then gradually, imperceptibly, time passes us by. And finally, we reach that point in our lives where we're standing there at the edge of the water. All that hope and promise are behind us, all the encouragement, and we're all alone. All of us. All of us go through this, and it all ends the same way. You watch Drogo then as he goes through this. He apparently wastes his entire life at this fort in this pointless exercise, this vain hope for military glory. But does he really waste it? Is it really any more pointless, meaningless than the lives of anyone else? We all make our choices. Drogo, he made the choice to do his duty for his country. Others, maybe who he grew up with or from the city that he moved to the fort from, they chose to go to work each day, to get married, to raise a family. We all make choices. It's just that Buzadi tells this story in a way that you can clearly see it happening to Drogo. And from time to time, even Drogo catches glimpses of it himself. So my first impression is that I love this book. It's beautifully written, at least the translation is. I would highly recommend it. And as I understand, there's going to be a new NYRB edition It'll be released early next year. It'll be entitled The Stronghold, and it's going to be translated by Lawrence Venuti. So that's the Tartar Steppe. I also finished this book, if you can see the title there, J.L. Carr's A Month in the Country. This was published in 1980, and it tells the story of a World War I veteran, a man dealing with PTSD, named Tom Birkin. He spends several weeks in a small English church, living in the bell tower, while he works at uncovering a medieval mural that's on the wall inside the church. It's been covered for centuries with layer upon layer of whitewash. And now he's there because a lady in the village left a large sum of money to the church in her will, with the provision that this mural must be restored first before the church can get its money. Okay, meanwhile, there's another veteran, Charles Moon, who has been tasked by the same benefactor with finding the grave of one of her ancestors. Now, this person died and was buried as a heretic, so they were buried outside the normal church graveyard. So, it's a peaceful, gentle story. It's the story of Birkin basically getting back on the road to recovery as he becomes a part of this place. He falls in love with it, this small village, and it starts to heal him. It's quite beautifully written. It's great to read. It's a small book. Probably this edition is 135 pages, so it's quick to read if you read fast. And I highly recommend it. Read it, and if you can, watch the movie adaptation that was made in 1987. Same name, A Month in the Country, with Colin Firth, Kenneth Branagh, and Natasha Richardson. It's pretty good too. And then the next book I read was The Crying a Lot 49 by Thomas Pynchon. This was a reread for me, so of course I got a lot more out of it this time. This is another short one. This is Pynchon's shortest novel. This edition here comes in at 183 pages. Published in novel form in 1965, but don't let the page count fool you, because it is a very dense story, very Pynchon-esque. The book tells the story of Oedipa Maas, who is named the executor of a will of her ex-boyfriend, a wealthy businessman named Pierce Inverarity. Now, as she sets out to do this job that she's just been given, she becomes involved in tracing what could be a conspiracy theory or what could be a real conspiracy involving the shadowy, centuries-old private mail service. Oedipa tries to understand the meaning of this organization, Trastero, and this symbol that she keeps seeing everywhere that's affiliated with it or associated with it. The muted post horn. This symbol right here. She sees it everywhere, on walls. People have tattoos of it. So as she proceeds on this quest, she is flooded with information. And also people around her are dying or going crazy. Places where she goes to look for clues and finds clues that then get burned down. It seems as if something really nefarious is going on. But on the other hand, is any of it real? it could just be a series of coincidences along with an elaborate hoax, a practical joke, or an act of revenge on the part of Pierce in Verity. Because everything she learns seems to point back to him. We're left to decide that on our own as readers. If you haven't read any Pinchon before, this is a decent place to start. It's also an excellent example of postmodernism that's not 600 pages long. So, read some Thomas Pynchon. Okay, so I read these last two books as my start to the second annual Shorty September, created by Bert and Sean over at PaSTORY Time. A Month in the Country was my read for a book from the 70s or 80s, and The Crying a Lot 49 was my read for a modern classic. Now, prompt number 3, my next read will be a book that you might regret later. I don't have a copy of it here. Maybe I can put a picture of it up. I might regret reading The Story of the Eye by Georges Bataille, so I think I'm going to read that one. And then prompt number 4 is to read a book and then watch the movie adaptation, which I like to do anyway whenever I can. So I plan on reading Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This is library copies, Seeing Better Days. And I'm ashamed to say I haven't read this before, so this will be my chance. So that's what I've been up to, and that's what my plans are for the next few days. I am still reading America and the Cult of the Cactus Boots, a diagnostic by Philip Friedenberg, illustrated by Jeff Walton. So I'm into that. So I guess until next time, BookTube, have a good one.